Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. This week, Jay Goltz, Jaci Russo, and Sarah Segal talk about whether it's finally time for Jay to enter the brave new world of task management software. That's, in fact, what his two kids in the business are encouraging him to do. As it happens, Jaci and Sarah have tried most of the project management tools out there, Monday, Basecamp, Asana, and they kind of love them, but with one caveat. They can be a lot of work, which is all Jay really needed to hear. After that, we talk about the challenges of managing company credit cards and points. And Jay explains why, after 40 years, American Express is no longer what's in his wallet. Plus, the owners tackle a question posed by an entrepreneur with a very new startup. When does the anxiety of a new business subside, asks the newbie, which prompts some laughter and this answer. The anxiety subsides in the 42nd year, says Jay, who's been running his business for 42 years. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations, brought to you by our principal sponsor, The Great Game of Business, will let owners know they are not alone in facing challenges. Same thing with our daily newsletter, the 21 Hats Morning Report, which Inc. magazine named the best newsletter for business owners and which you can subscribe to for free at 21hats.com, where you can also find transcripts of our podcast episodes and lots of other articles and interviews. Joining me this week on the podcast are regulars Jay Goltz, CEO of the Goltz Group, whose companies in Chicago include a picture frame business, Artist Frame Service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. Jaci Russo, CEO of Brand Russo, a marketing agency based in Lafayette, Louisiana. And Sarah Segal, who's founder and CEO of Segal Communications, a public relations firm based in San Francisco. The episode is titled, Managing Your Tasks, Your Credit Cards, and Your Anxiety. Welcome, Jay, Jaci, and Sarah. It's great to have you here. As usual this week, we emailed about topics we would like to discuss beforehand, and I have to say I almost fell out of my chair when I saw Jay suggest that he wanted to talk about technology. Jay, is your daytimer acting up or something? What's going on?
No, my children are acting up, and they said, gee, I want to put you on to-do list so that I can keep track of projects you're working on.
Is that to-do list?
Todoist.
Oh, Todoist. That's software.
It's like a task list.
Yeah. So then they started sending me. So now every day I get.
Did they realize they were talking to you, Jay?
No, they never do. So they went. Now I'm getting these every day, and I keep deleting them. And I just thought, I wonder if this is the right one, or if anyone has any input on it. So my daytimer's working just fine, though.
What was their goal? Why did they want you to be on it?
Well, there are projects that they're working on, and they want my input on, well, what do you think about this? And I do not have any technical connection that on a daily basis where I can go back and forth. So I figured if I'm going to do it, I might as well see what everyone else is using. Basically just a stall tactic because I really don't want to do it. A whiteboard seems to be the best option here, but so I'm just trying to get some input.
But it's not like you're putting a bunch of managers on it with you. It's just for you and two sons, right?
Yeah.
Sarah, what do you think?
So I love technology. I love systemizing things and getting projects organized. And I've probably tried every system out there, from Monday.com to Asana to Todoist to Notion. Like I'm all about like finding the magic solution in terms of project management. And, and some are better than others, but I actually like Todoist. Todoist seems to be one of the few that is really integrated with Google. So you can, it just blends into your day-to-day activity. So I have it, but I use it mostly for like kind of my personal to-do list. But what's interesting is that despite all of the programs that we use, really what it comes down to that works best for my team is every Monday we have a meeting and we have a Google Doc that we update with the current status of things. And that tends to be the Bible for our things to do. And while I do love those task management systems, the problem is that they actually take a lot of time to manage. And you need somebody who's dedicated and has the bandwidth to make sure that, okay, we're putting in all the to-dos and we're assigning them out and we're following up with the people to make sure that they're doing it. You really need to have a project manager behind all of those systems. So if you don't have those, it's really hard to take full advantage of them. That's my perception of them.
That's just exactly what I wanted to hear. Basically, you're telling me, Jay, you should use a whiteboard. Just said you need a project manager to manage it. Like, I really don't want to be a project manager.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you have a big company, like if you're, a 500 person headcount company, you need to have those systems. But you also probably have invested in a number of project managers where their sole job is to make sure that people are checking things off. And I think that's fantastic. But if you're just doing it for a department or you're just doing it for a small company, like, I think that it's something that you can start using, but it's a lot of work for people.
Jackie, what do you do?
Well, I love technology, so you may have put the two wrong people to help Jay through this. I actually just finished an office purge because we really went primarily paperless about 10 years ago and somehow turned into hoarders when we bought this building in 2005. So I assigned myself the task of cleaning out the upstairs storage and found our old paper folders where we had a physical project manager who there's a piece of paper stapled to the back of the folder, and she would walk it to the desk of the copywriter, and that person would do their task, and then it would go in the outbox, and then Ashley would pick it up and bring it to the designer. I mean, we're an 8,000 square foot building. We could have walked to each other's desks. I don't know what I was thinking.
Love it. I love it. Can you just talk slower? I want to make notes on this because I like that system. It sounds great.
I'm sure, Jay. I'm sure it's your dream. And so we still had some of those old project folders, and I sat there and just thought for a long time about how far we've come. And we've been through, Basecamp and Monday and Asana. We've made the rounds everybody else has made. We're on Monday currently.
Yeah.
And how much happier I am with a technology-based solution because I travel a lot. And so I can access the work I need from the cloud, from the server, from wherever I am. I love the Google suite. And Michael, my husband and business partner and chief creative officer of this company, he still can't figure out how to use his real email to check his Gmail for his things that has been shared with him. So we're not on the same end of the spectrum with this. I think the system's only going to be as good as you want it to be, Jay. And if you don't like the technological aspect of it, which is totally fine, then find a low-tech version that makes you happy.
But that is exactly my question. So what is the lowest tech version?
I can tell you.
Yeah, please. That's why I want to know.
So I've been married to my husband for 2 decades plus, and I love him dearly, but technology is not his strong suit. So
Sarah, is his name Michael Russo? Because we may need to talk.
The best way to do to-dos is the Notes app, a shared notes, and putting a checklist on a shared Notes app. It's the most simplified version. You can look at it on your phone. You can look at it on your laptop. You can check the box to say that you're done, but a shared notes doc is, I think, the simplest way. Todoist is amazing. I think it's a really great system. Jackie, my question for you on Monday.com, we use Monday as well, but do you have a project manager managing it, making sure it's up to date?
We have done that a couple of ways. One, the three of us that use it most often each have our own pieces of ownership. And then we've got our research team when we're not working on a strategic brand plan where they're researching and they're deep into it. When a project moves out of them and so they have a little breathing room, they go in and do accuracy checks and updates so that we make sure that the information stays up to date.
So Jay, are you going to give it a shot? I mean, I don't think for the technology that's being forced upon you, Todoist is actually not that bad. Monday is much more complicated.
Okay, that's why I asked. No, that's why, and maybe I will do that because it's not like I don't use my computer all day long. I do, and I you can laugh about the daytimer. It kind of works. It's okay, but I'm certainly open to. I just wanted another opinion on. I'll try that out, and we'll see how that goes. I have to give perspective to people. When I started in business, there were no computers, so
we know.
I know, but obviously. It's different for someone like me than someone who grew up with a keyboard in their hand. So I don't usually use this phrase well, getting out of your comfort zone. I don't really have it. I kind of always have been out of my comfort zone. In this case, this is a comfort zone thing. And I have to decide whether it's worth the trouble to get out of it.
Well, I feel your pain. Like at the beginning of this year, I was like, I have an iPad. I'm going to start taking all of my notes on the iPad. I'm going to start using that as opposed to a paper notebook. And that's going to be the way that I'm going to do it. And I can't keep up with it. Like I need to have that pen to paper experience to be able to take notes. And if you look around my office at my team, every single one of them has a paper notebook. And they're super organized and clean, and the writing is beautiful. I'm kind of jealous of their note-taking skills, but like it's that pen to paper notebook that really keeps us going forward and making sure that we don't forget anything. And some of those systems like Monday and Todoist are kind of redundant, but they're great in terms of sharing tasks and kind of the status of projects with the rest of your team.
Jaci, I have a question for you. You said you've tried almost all of these things. You're on the Monday now in terms of project management systems. The thought of changing systems just, I can't even contemplate that.
It's a nightmare.
Isn't it incredibly painful to go from one system to another?
It is both incredibly painful and feels in a lot of ways like a snake shedding their skin. There's some good to it because you have to get in there and really double check and verify all the information. You get a chance to look at it through today's eyes, and the systems we set up 3 years ago and the tags we implemented and the process we thought was right probably isn't right anymore. And so it's the purge that you neither need nor want, but really benefit from.
Would you recommend like starting fresh at the beginning of the year or like at the beginning of the quarter or something like that? And like not necessarily transferring over all your old stuff, but like archiving it and then just starting fresh?
We've done both. And I think now that we're talking about this and I'm thinking of all the times we've changed software, I might have a problem. So that may be a whole session I have to have later because we've changed accounting systems. We've changed our project management system. We've changed our email database. And I would say we really do kind of every few years cycle somebody out. So it's a December thing for us. In December, we're analyzing all of our current systems and saying, did this software management platform raise their price 5 times in the past 3 years? Who's the hot new one that's back at where the price should be? And we're going to them. And then, okay, what's that change going to look like?
Do you suffer from tech bloat at all?
I think we have at times. Jay would think we definitely do.
I don't even know if I think about it enough to know that. So yeah.
I work really hard on making sure we don't have overlap and we don't have gap. And that is almost a full-time job. We had a little bit of an overlap in our accounting department at one point. And I realized that we had brought in a piece of software because of its AI readability. So it would read the invoices in an email and automatically import them into our, so it was bill.com, and it was automatically importing them into QuickBooks. And then QuickBooks finally developed their own AI reader. And so we were able to eliminate bill.com because it was redundant.
Jaci, one of the last times you were on, you told us that you were systematically going through pretty much every process that your business uses to see if there is something you can do with artificial intelligence to improve the process. Have you changed anything in terms of how you manage tasks as a result of that procedure?
Well, it is still ongoing. And one of the things that I have figured out is you talk about redundancies. There's so much redundancy in the different AI platforms. And so we're really developing what I think is going to be a fairly comprehensive list until lunchtime, and then it will be out of date, of where all of the overlaps are, because so many of them do such a similar thing. 2 things have really come out of it. One, we're finding ways to improve our process, and we know it's ongoing. And so we now have some people permanently assigned to staying on top of every time there's a new AI launched, announced, talked about. How does it fit into our system? Is it something we should consider? And knowing that we have to go back and evaluate the ones we're using because new ones come and somebody could get replaced. And secondly, I'm starting to develop classes around it. I find that one of the best ways for me to learn something is to have to go teach it. And so now I'm thinking, okay, well, all this knowledge that I've developed in terms of which platforms I use for what thing and which prompts work really well and what processes I should use, I could save somebody else months of time by just telling them what I've learned and giving them the cheat sheets that we've created. And so we'll start doing those in the next couple of weeks.
So what's your tech stack order of favorites? Like, what do you like love using in your systems?
You know, it kind of goes back and forth. The Google Suite is shockingly user-friendly to me, and I like the way that it works. I love that I can roll in and out of my things and shared things so seamlessly. But that exact quality is the thing that makes our shared husband crazy. So it really does make a difference. Just about anything Apple puts their fingers on has become my favorite. And it's really a strange thing to say. When I married Michael, I was all PC and he was all Mac.
Oh, a mixed marriage.
For years. Oh, he was. Well, that's what the Catholic Church called it too, because I'm also Methodist. And I think the technology mix was harder for people to accept than the religious mix. Plus, he's Italian and I'm Irish, so there's a whole lot of mixing going on.
I think I want to start a support group with your husbands. Could you have both of them call me on the telephone so we can talk this out?
I don't need y'all to have a majority in this relationship, actually. No. What ended up happening, though, was, as I mocked him for these super expensive computers that had to be replaced all the time and couldn't be customized and personalized the way a PC could, over time, and it was really the iPod and then the iPhone, there was a big switch that happened. And so I think, I got the iPod first and I got the watch, and then I became the tech person who always had the first piece of technology, and I would test it out and tell him if he should get it or not. And then, so I had the iPad, but I'm still using a desktop, regular old PC at the office. And so finally, when I upgraded to that a couple of years ago and realized that they all talk to each other, I was like, who did not tell this to me? How has this been a secret? And so now that my laptop and my iPad and my watch and my phone and everybody can share one document across all platforms, anywhere I put it, it's on the desktop of where I'm going to be next. That stuff is what really makes me happy.
Jay, any questions?
I'm happy for you. I'm trying to find, I'm certainly not dissing technology. I certainly use it and I certainly know it's a great thing. I'm just trying to figure out getting the right return on investment of my brain cells on it. And I will tell you, I am extremely confident that the world, if you want to be effective in this world, you certainly need some new school stuff, but there's still some old school that works. And I see on a regular basis these people that are all teched up that think that the world has changed 100% and it hasn't. Maybe it's changed 70%. The one that sticks out in my mind is I found this woman that's an attorney who does estate stuff, and I got lots of employees need wills done. So I called her and I said, hey, listen, will you send me some business cards? I'll share them with my employees. And she emailed me later and said, I just want to get this straight. You want me to mail you some business cards? And I'm thinking, was it that outrageous? Like I asked her to go to the top of Mount Sinai and chisel out some tablets. I just asked for some business cards.
She could have shared her contact card with you instead, and then you could have just texted that to people.
Why would I want to not just have a conversation with a human being and go, oh, here's a card of a lady, call her when you need the will? Why would I want to have to start making sure they got a computer? It's just, all of my employees are not super tech savvy. Why wouldn't I just want to hand them a card?
Save a tree.
This is between Jay and his therapist. Let's let this go here.
You are my therapist.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah. You shouldn't be. Trust me.
Yeah. Let's move on to another concern of Jay's. Jay, you've recently been having something of a battle with American Express, where you've been a very active customer for very many years. This has kind of reached a boiling point of late, I gather. Can you tell us what's going on?
I have like 35 employees that have credit cards for various reasons, and it's a job. I was out of the country and I got texts that they all of a sudden started to put credit limits on my account. The whole idea of American Express is there's no credit limit. I've never missed a payment in 40 some years, and I had hundreds of thousands of dollars going through there, but every single month I paid it off, and their algorithm must have tricked something, and like, Al doesn't like me, and like, oh, this guy's spending too much money. So now they want to put limits on the cards, which creates a nightmare. Like all of a sudden you've got an employee somewhere trying to check into a hotel somewhere and their card doesn't work. And it took me weeks to go through the whole thing with them. And I've had it with other like you have to manage these credit card companies is the point. I've got 3, American Express, Bank of America, and Chase. And they all got different policies and they've all got different algorithms and they all have different fraud alerts. And it really becomes a problem when you're the card holder, the main card holder, and you start getting text out of the clear blue. Is this fraud? It really becomes a problem. So I've been managing it, and I finally got American Express they put a limit on my card that was lower than the amount I owed at the moment. And so here's what I've learned. There is a lesson in all this. Don't go calling the number on the back of your card. I mean, you're just going to get the boiler room with 8,000 employees. I actually found out who my representative was and called her, and she intervened and she helped manage this and she helped get the balances back to what they should be. Same thing with Chase. I went over to the Chase bank. There's actually banks where you walk in the door and you can sit down and there's a human being behind the desk. And I told her, and again, she picked up the phone and found out who my rep was, quote unquote, and she helped fix it. But calling the back of the card's not going to do it, I've learned.
Did they have a reason for doing it? Like, were you getting too many
I don't
points?
know.
Or
Got me. It's all the magic algorithm. I have no idea. All I can tell you is I literally put through hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of charges last year. Like I said, never missed a payment on any of them. And I don't know, somewhere they have an algorithm that says, blinking lights, warning. Is it because I'm a retailer? I have no idea what it is, but you can't figure it out. But it does need to be managed or it causes you a lot of grief. And American Express took so long to fix it. Got to tell you, I already moved all my people over to Bank of America. That was much better, and I got better points. And you know what? Here's the other lesson. No one really cares. You think someone at American Express is losing sleep because they just lost a $2 million a year. No one's losing any sleep over this. So there's no one to get mad at. There's no one to send your cut up card back to. I just found out that Bank of America has a much better program with points now. And it was a good thing that I moved it over.
So you've left American Express completely?
I still have a card with them, but I basically stopped using the card and now I moved it.
When we had our last kind of in-person event for 21 Hats, you had mentioned that you really prioritize putting most of your expenses on your card so you can get the points.
Yeah, absolutely.
I started doing that. And so, my plan is to take the team to this big conference that we want to go to on those points. And so I really try to do that. And I thank you for that advice.
I'll tell you, if you're getting 1 point, that's no longer good. You should be getting, Chase now has a card on any invoice that's more than $5,000. They give you 2.5 points. That's a lot more than 1 point. And Bank of America, if you have an account there, they give you 75% more than the points. So like for gas, I'm getting like 5% because it starts at 3 and then you add on the 75%. It's not insubstantial. It's serious money. It's tens of thousands of dollars a year to a company my size. So it is a thing. And if you're not paying attention and you're just getting 1 point, you could be losing tens of thousands of dollars a year.
Jay, those tens of thousands of dollars, can you take those tens of thousands of dollars in cash or do you have to redeem them for gifts or something?
Well, in this case, as good as cash, you can take a credit on your statement. You can just go ahead and Wow is right. It's changed. A lot of companies are taking charge cards now that didn't used to. Like my freight bill, I have big UPS bills, big. Between my home store sending stuff out and my wholesale framing thing, I send out hundreds of packages a day. It's a substantial amount of money. It makes a difference what card you put it on. And they take credit cards. FedEx takes credit cards. UPS takes credit cards. There's not many times you can say this. It's kind of free money. Free money's a good thing.
Jake, it sounds like you spent a lot of time on this, managing it of late. Am I right? Have you put a lot of time into this?
I probably spent 5 hours on it in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, but was it worth it? Yeah. And it's a fair question because I did put time into it, but one of my issues was I had to make sure that my credit limits were high enough because like I said, I got 32 people out there charging stuff every day and like they could be standing at a gas station and all of a sudden the card doesn't go through. So I got to make sure that I have high enough credit limits on all these cards and monitor it. And it takes a little effort.
Who do you decide who to give the credit card to? I'll ask that to Jay and Jackie. Like what's the is it a role?
Yeah, for sure. People who are in the position of buying stuff for the company, people that are going out and parking in parking garages or buying gas. I got 12 vehicles, so everybody's got to fill up the gas. I will tell you, in all of these years, and you can put limits on the card, I have never had a problem, ever. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't people that have embezzled hundreds of thousands of dollars using a credit card, but putting a $5,000 limit on a credit card, I've never had a problem with that. I would also tell you that I believe the employee feels good that they're trusted. They have a company credit card if they need one. The idea they got to use their own personal credit card and then go get reimbursed, I don't think that's right.
What about you, Jackie?
We've done it both ways. I agree with Jay that having someone have to shoulder the burden of that charge is just not fair. And so it all runs through my account. I'm still pretty loyal to Amex. I don't take the points. I use the miles. And so I travel enough and we spend enough that I pretty much fly for free. And I really like that a lot. And I appreciate the upgrades. And I'm not bougie about a lot of things, but I could get behind some time in a Delta lounge. I tell you what, it makes me really happy to be special.
For sure.
And so we've used it that way, and that's been very beneficial. I am, like Jay, though, having to look at it, and it'll be one of the things that's on the block this year for review, because in the olden days, when we were just mostly media buying, and it was traditional media, it was all invoice system, no big deal. Well, now that media is all digital, or for the most part, and so all those media charges funnel through My American Express. And so I, too, am looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars a month coming through. And so I have to start to think, is there a smarter way? Is there a way to get more value for the card?
Have you had a problem with the limit if you're putting that much through?
No, I'm not. But now that you're saying that, it makes me very nervous.
So they don't have a limit on your account at this point?
They do not.
Well, maybe you get an email one day and all of a sudden they decided to put a limit on it.
That's crazy. And we do the same thing. I mean, I pay mine off every Friday, and, we make sure that, we're never in arrears. I can't even imagine if all of a sudden they put a limit on us. I would be thrown, because it's set up on all of our accounts, all of our Facebook ads managers, all of our Google digital ad accounts. I mean, it would be a nightmare if that happened.
Yeah.
So do you have one card, one name on one card that everybody uses, or do other people on the team have their own cards?
They're an authorized user with their own cards. Okay. And we've done it both ways, where sometimes, you didn't quite earn that yet. And so you're literally physically using the card that's sitting on my desk, and you've been here long enough and I know how you handle your business. And so you've got an authorized user card. It's a kind of thing we work into.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Like, I've had an authorized user in the past. That employee has moved on to another position, and I just haven't added anybody else. So right now it's just everybody uses my card, which is fine. But I've been thinking about adding a couple authorized users to the system just to make their expenses. They don't have a lot of expenses, but just to make it a little bit easier. And I agree that getting that card from your company, that's probably a feather in the cap for some people, especially younger employees that are like working there where they're like, I got a corporate card, that's kind of a big deal. So
there is a control problem by having everyone on your card, because whoever's paying the bills has no way of keeping an eye on stuff because it's on your card. Whereas if it was under their name, at least you could say, hey, why does so-and-so spend blanket amount? I mean, I have heard of there certainly are nightmare stories out there of people who took advantage of their card. And I've been getting pretty careful of everyone's got their own card. So at least we know who's charging it.
All right. Last thing today. I saw an interesting post on the small business Reddit from a business owner who had a question that I think might be relevant to a lot of our listeners. I'm going to read it to you. It's titled, "When Does the Anxiety of a New Business Subside?" And this owner wrote, we're laughing already.
Yes. "I
started my business, wilderness guiding and outfitting, last year, and things were very slow at first. December got some business, January a little more. I was hopeful. Word started to get out, but suddenly this past week I have been flooded with requests via calls, emails, texts, forms submitted on my website, and it's absolutely amazing. I'm 100% not complaining. Just a week ago I was stressed about if I could even pay my bills, but the sudden influx of customers and reservations has me feeling anxious and a little overwhelmed. I am so worried about a customer falling through the cracks as I navigate getting back to this person or that person, making this or that reservation for a trip or service. It's just that it was so sudden, as if everyone all at once decided they wanted to do a trip. I am a one-person show. He concludes, thank you for any advice. I'm going to clock out now and go try to do something non-work related.
Well, that's an easy one. The answer is the anxiety stops at the 42-year mark. So,
You're gonna hire somebody.
I'm
You're
just
just a
kidding.
freelancer.
Okay, lighten up. No, I think it's about managing customer expectations. That I think if whoever is emailing, texting, whatever, you say, I'm a one-man show. I return all correspondence between, and just let people know when you're going to get back to them. I think people are perfectly happy. Most will be happy with that. And just when he gets home at night, she gets home at night, you go ahead and get back. I'm always happy if they just tell me when I'm going to get the return. That's all. I just would like to know where it's at. I don't think there's anything embarrassing to tell someone I'm a one-man operation.
But you need to have a system in place also. Like if you're going to start, I mean, whether or not it's Todoist or something else, you need to get your person's name, put it in a spreadsheet. They came in, you responded. This is pending. What's the next step? And just making sure that you're organized on all of those things and updating that spreadsheet every day so you can, keep on track of everybody. Because, the worst thing in the world is to get a Yelp review. Oh, I tried to go on this outdoor adventure, but they never got back to me. You want to avoid that. But, you could probably, if reservations keep coming in, hire a freelancer, somebody to help manage that. There are tons of folks that are perfectly capable of just helping, send out those emails. Thanks for your inquiry. We are a one-man show. We will get back to you within the next 7 days or whatever it is.
I think those phone answering services make sense too. I can't tell you how surprised I am when I call companies, and we're talking about things that cost thousands of dollars, and the phone machine just says, the person you're trying to call isn't here to leave. They don't even put their name on it, for God's sake. So even if it just said, hi, this is Joe Schmo, leave your name and number. So I've learned that people, in my experience from being the customer, people are either really good at this or they're horrible at it. And there's no reason to be horrible at it, to your point. Have a system, have a person answering the phone, or have something, but it's not brain surgery. And I'm surprised at how many companies just drop the ball on it.
I thought this one was interesting because it was so early in the process. I mean, as he acknowledges, this is one of the lucky ones. He started his business. It was slow for a couple of weeks, and then boom. That's a problem a lot of people would like to have.
I know. I want to know what the secret sauce is. How did this person do that? Like, tell me, and I will emulate it.
It starts with a website also.
And it's seasonal, so if you started in the beginning of the winter, then it's going to be slow. And now people are planning spring and summer trips. It's going to pick up.
I sensed he was asking a deeper question. It wasn't just about managing the sudden inflow. It was about adjusting to life as a business owner and recognizing that even if he figures out this situation, there's going to be more coming that he's going to have to live with.
Yeah, he's going to have to deal with the next step, which is he's going to have to learn about hiring and firing and management, which is not a simple thing. And it's a he?
I think it's a he.
Okay, if he wants to grow, this is, I deal with this in the framing business all the time. I just was at the show and I said to everyone, you have to make a decision. Do you really have the mindset, the stomach for growing a business, or do you want to be a one-person frame shop? There's nothing wrong with that if that's where you're comfortable, because he's going to have to make a decision. Does he want to grow this to have a staff and be a manager?
Yeah, when you're in a service-based business, you have to want to be able to manage people. You're going to have to want to be able to figure out how to grow. It's weird to start a business without a plan to grow. Like I'm always like, do people really want to start businesses just to be them one person in their business?
The answer is yes.
Absolutely.
No, but that's, you've just described 50% of the people that are small businesses.
I know, but I guess, but those are like, most of those are like independent contractors. I look at those people as different, like they present themselves as a independent contractor as opposed to I'm a communications or PR agency, right? And if you start a business, I guess you could just do it yourself. But like, to me, that's just being a freelancer or a contractor. And there's nothing wrong with that. Gives you a lot of flexibility.
After talking to many people that do that, I can tell you what the issue is. They can't handle managing people. Managing people takes courage and takes...
They can't or they don't want to.
Either way, right. Well, can't turns into don't want to, whatever. One of the two, they don't want to or can't deal with. As you all know, being an entrepreneur, you have to be able, the meek might inherit the earth, but they're going to go broke in business. You can't be meek. You have to have conversations with human beings and sit down with them and say, Bob, this is the third time I've talked to you about this, and I decided that this isn't working. Today's your last day. Some people can't do that. Don't want to do that.
You got better at it as you
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, it's hard for anybody to do that. And I think you learn through trial and error. Like if you've had to fire somebody, like you learn through that experience. It was painful, but you learned it. You mess up on a customer's inquiry, you don't get back to them in time, and then they write a bad review for you on Yelp. Yeah, you're going to learn from that. So hopefully they don't learn that way, and they learn from other people's mistakes. But like, if you want your business to grow and that person has to make the decision that, yeah, I want this to grow, then they need to either respond to people in a timely fashion and meet their expectations, or they need to say, hey, listen, I'm a one-man show. I'll get back to you when I get back to you. And that's the way I operate. And some people will be okay with that.
Jaci, when did the anxiety go away for you?
Well, I'm still a few more years away from the 42-year mark, so I've just circled it on my calendar, and I'm looking forward to it.
Seriously, I might say 10 years. Or 5. It's not a year, I don't think.
I'm
think
still
it'd be
there, and I'm 24 years in.
Right. I think I can tell you, I didn't feel like I finally had it together but I started very young, so you got to factor that in. I started at 22. I think it took me till I was 40 before I finally felt like I had things under control. And I grew super fast. I was chasing my tail for 18 years. I'm not saying it's going to take everyone that, but what I've recently decided, I believe there's 4 C's here. The first is clarity. Do you want to grow it? I think people should be clear. Do you want to grow it? Do you want to go through what it's going to take to do that? The second one is courage. It does take courage to grow the company, whether it's borrowing money or firing people. It does take courage. 3 is to take commitment. You're going to make some mistakes and you're going to get beat up and you're going to have to pick yourself up the next day and go, all right, I learned from that. I'm going to keep moving on, which finally you get to the 4th stage, which is confidence. You feel like you got it figured out and you're good. How long does the 4 steps take? That depends on how fast you're growing and who you are, but that's not a 1-year process. That's for sure. At least in my experience, it wasn't. Anyone disagree with that?
No, not at all. And it depends on, to your point about growing. So I could have, gotten to a certain point and said, okay, this is good, and coasted there. And then I wouldn't still be worried, nervous, concerned, anxiety, stressed. But because we want to keep growing and we keep reinvesting in the business, there's no coast. And I think that's where the work comes from, is the maintaining and growing of what you're doing, continuing to exceed expectations and making sure we're reinvesting in technology and improving the customer experience. We get bigger, our clients get bigger. Well, that's a whole other set of challenges and opportunities. We get bigger, we hire more employees. That's another set of challenges and opportunities. So I could have stayed a one-man show, but I like this better.
I do want to say a word in defense of solopreneurs like me. I think the way we've talked about them has evolved. I think there was a time when they were more just like freelancers, but in part because of technology and how the things you can do now as a one-person business operating from anywhere, there are more and more solopreneurs who do very much consider themselves business owners. They are not meek. They are choosing a way to run a business that makes sense for them.
I totally agree with that. And when I say meek, you're not meek. You went ahead and took the chance to go start this, and you're dealing with it. I 100% agree with what you just said. Technology has changed that. There's plenty of very successful people that work by themselves.
My thanks to Jay Goltz, Jaci Russo, and Sarah Segal, and to our sponsor, The Great Game of Business, which helps businesses use an open book management system to build healthier companies. You can learn more at greatgame.com. Thanks, everybody. Wait, don't leave yet. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like the 21 Hats owners to address, send it to me by replying to your morning report or by email at lauren@21hats.com. That's LOREN@21hats.com. Do it now before you forget. And don't be afraid to tell Jay what you really think. He can take it. And if you got something out of this conversation, help us reach more business owners. Tell a friend. Subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to The Morning Report at 21hats.com. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Okay, now you can leave. Thanks for listening, everyone.